あのグラディウスがファミコンソフトになった。侵入経路は無限に広がる。未知との戦いは今始まった。全宇宙を飲み込んだ超スペースファイターグラディウス。
Konami. CGQ Plus.
It's finally time for another episode of Weekend Rental. Sorry, I just was getting slammed at work, and like today's my first day off in like 2 weeks. And today we're taking a look at Gradius, and I specifically chose not to say which version of Gradius we're playing in the video title or thumbnail, just because at least that's why I have something to sort of, you know, I hate the fact that they all say what they are, and so I can, oh, today we're checking out whatever, and you're like, yeah, I know. So this way you kind of don't know. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So Gradius, what can I say about Gradius? One of my absolute favorite games, one of my absolute favorite NES games. Anytime I have my NES hooked up, I will always take the opportunity to play through some Gradius. The game originally came out in the arcades in 1985. Some people might call it like the grandfather of side-scrolling shooters, but you know, you have to go back a lot farther for that. You know, I would call like Defender the grandfather of horizontally scrolling shooters, but I think that in a lot of ways, Gradius sort of established the format that we all think of with shooters. And like I said, it came out 85 in the arcades. I don't know when the Famicom version came out. I should have looked it up. I forgot. It doesn't seem to have a date. Oh, it does. 86. I don't know when. Sometime in 86, it came out on the Famicom, but then in December of 86, it came out on the NES. And this was among the first sort of group of third-party NES games. NES came out in, the summer, I think, of 85? But it was just first-party games available for over a year. I mean, you know, when it first came out, it was test launch. Then you had the national launch, but it was still nothing but first-party Nintendo games. And then at the end of 86, a small handful of third-party games came out. I don't remember all the games. I just remember it was Gradius, it was Tag Team Wrestling, and there was maybe one more. I just don't remember what game it was. It doesn't really matter. And Gradius for the NES, I shouldn't say that. It was the first appearance of the Konami code on the NES. I don't know if the Konami code, you know, has its origins on, you know, other systems. But somebody my age, I always think of the Konami code like we all called it the Contra code. Because, you know, for so many of us, I think that was our introduction to it. And, you know, like back then, I didn't even know you could use the Konami code on Gradius. I always just used it on Contra. I still don't really use it on Gradius, but I would have when I was a kid if I had known. But, you know, unlike, you know, with Contra, the code gives you 30 lives. With Gradius, you can pause the game. This is once you've started the game rather than on the title screen. You can pause the game and punch in the code. And when you unpause the game, your ship will be fully powered up. But you only get to use it once. I think if you try to use it again, I think it makes your ship blow up. Unless I'm confusing it with something else. But yeah. And then in 1991, the game came out on the PC Engine. Which this is the version we're going to play today, is the PC Engine version. Because this, in my opinion, it's my favorite version of the game. I think it's actually the best version of the game. This has this came out, like I said, in 91. And, you know, for a while, I just didn't put two and two together. And I was just like, why did this game come out on the PC Engine in, you know, in 91? Like, why didn't it come out in, like, you know, 87 or 88? And sort of, this is just my personal theory. I didn't see like some developer interview or anything. But Gradius 2 was coming out on the PC Engine CD, and I think that Konami made this conversion because of that. Like to kind of get people hyped up about Gradius 2 coming out. Here we're releasing this special edition of Gradius. They added a level to the game. I can't remember if it's the 4th or the 5th. I think it's the 5th level, and that level is very reminiscent of, I think it's level 1 in Gradius 3, where you have sort of the sand dunes on the bottom and top of the screen, and they have, I don't know if they're like dead dinosaurs or something. There's just like these skeletons of, looks like a brontosaurus skeleton or something. And, if you shoot the rib cage, the bones kind of break off and float towards you. That was in Gradius 3, but they made a level with that same motif and added it to this version of Gradius. So I think it's like kind of the definitive version of Gradius, in my opinion. And it's also, I haven't checked lately, but like when I bought this game, which was a couple years ago now, I guess, I think I paid like $45 for it, which, look, I'm not saying $45 isn't, a decent amount of money, but if you look at sort of the spectrum of I don't know why I have a scratchy throat today. If you look at the spectrum of shooters on the PC Engine and the sort of the price distribution, $45 is definitely on the low end. And normally, if that's all you're going to spend on a PC Engine shooter, you're going to get a game that, like, at best is like, flawed but kind of okay. More of something I would call a traditional weekend rental. Which someone left a comment on the last weekend rental, or I've gotten a few of those, like, oh, this isn't really a weekend rental. And, like, listen, I named this series weekend rental because it's become sort of a catch term just for my show overall. But, the whole point of that term was to say these are games that are kind of mediocre and are only, they're okay for a couple of days on a weekend, but that's it. And I'm not going to do a whole series of videos on my show looking at mediocre games. So I don't consider this game a weekend rental at all. But I will say, the point I was getting at is I think that normally if you were going to spend like $45 on a PC Engine shooter, you're going to get a weekend rental. Something like, like Legion, or something like that. And so that kind of surprises me, I guess, just because maybe people think that, like, well, this is an older game and I can just play it on the NES. But this really is, in my opinion, the best version of the game. So obviously we're gonna play the game. But before we do, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I don't know, I guess this is just to defend myself. I don't really know. I want to talk a little bit about the pronunciation of this game. And, I've talked about this on the podcast a little bit. I'm not sure if I brought it up here before, but one of the things I did this summer was I learned how to read katakana, because that way, you see if you play a lot of Japanese games, there's a lot of English in Japanese games. It's just written in katakana instead of in, our alphabet. And so if you don't know any better, which I didn't know any better, you just think, oh, it's in Japanese. And it's like, no, it's actually in English. You just have to know how to read katakana. And I've already found that very useful for there's a lot of games I've played where now that I can recognize, oh, that's hiragana, that's katakana, I realize, oh, I can just read that now. Like, I'm in the options screen of some Japanese PC Engine game, and I realize that it's all in English. It's just you have to be able to read katakana. But an interesting thing about that is, so both of these versions of the game, the PC Engine version and the Famicom version, have the name of the game in katakana. And, on the PC Engine version, you can kind of see it's, right there above the Gradius logo. And then here it's on the end label. What's on the end label here too. But the point I was getting at is just, when I did that Super Nintendo in 1991 video, I called the game Gradius. And, I got a lot of comments from people that, and I don't mean comments like, oh, that's interesting. Why are you saying the game that way? But just people saying like, oh, I literally had to stop watching the video because of the way he's saying Gradius. Who says it like that? And, I put a lot of effort into, doing research for videos like that. And, Gradius is a good example of a game where we all grew up saying it one way, and now we say it, most of us, a different way. We all said Gradius when I was growing up. And then maybe it's because of Gradius 5, because that says the name of the game at the title screen on the PS2. A voice just goes Gradius. And so I would say that in the West, that's the official correct pronunciation is Gradius. But in Japan, they don't say Gradius. They say Gradius. And you know that because of the katakana. The characters, it's gu, ra, and then the next one is de, but because it has that little e next to it, it becomes d. Gu, ra, di, u, su. Now nobody's going to say gu, ra, di, u, su. They just say Gradius. And if you don't believe me, you can take that katakana and plug that into the YouTube search bar and find a video from some Japanese YouTuber playing Gradius, and you'll hear them calling it Gradius because that's the way they pronounce the game, and they are, after all, the ones that made the game. Now, that all being said, I should have said something in the video like, in Japan, it's pronounced Gradius. Here in the West, we say Gradius. And then moving forward, I should have said Gradius. But so that's on me. But, it's just to explain, the idea that I made it up or something and who says it that way. Well, Japanese people say it that way, and it's their game. And the only other time I really took heat was the TurboGrafx 16 in 1990 video, and it was the same thing. It was, we say Galaga, right? Galaga 90, and I called it Galaga, and I got lit up for that, and it's the exact same thing. If you look at the game in katakana, it's Galaga. And so it's the same thing. I did research and I had to make kind of a judgment call about how I was going to pronounce the game. I should have said the same thing. In Japan, it's Galaga. Here's the katakana. I'm saying Galaga because that's how we say it here. But, I just try to be mindful of not, there's so much misinformation out there, like on YouTube and on the internet in general. I've talked previously about launch lineups on Wikipedia being wrong. And, if I was one of these guys who, my research began and ended with Wikipedia, I would be repeating that same bad information, which is not a good thing to do. And so it's no different with pronouncing the names of games. I'm not going to make a video with Ninja Gaiden in it and call it Ninja Gaiden. That's just not the correct way to say it. But, like I said, I think with both of those two examples, with Gradius and with Galaga, it's sort of become the at least the de facto way to say it here. And really, in the case of Gradius, because it's in the title screen of Gradius 5, I'd say it's the official way to pronounce it here. But the point is, I'm not just making stuff up. So anyway, that sort of diatribe aside, I think it's time to go ahead and fire the game up. I will say, sorry, before we get started, I was hoping to play the game on my original PC Engine. I just got this back, original white PC Engine. And I've had this PC Engine for a long time. I bought this system on some forums. I really don't remember where. And the person selling it basically said that they had started doing an RGB mod to it and just didn't have a chance to finish it. So when I bought it, it came with the RGB amp and a DIN connector for the end. And I tried to work on it, and I'm no professional modder, and I really just made it a lot worse. And I just put the console away. The thing is, the shell is not yellowed. It's really a beautiful console. And so I wasn't going to get rid of it. But, oh my God, excuse me, but I wasn't really sure what to do with it. And then I come to find out that there's a modder that actually lives fairly local to me. I mean, easy driving distance. A guy by the name of Fenris Wolf Retro. And so I reached out to him and had him do some work for me, and he just does a really good job. And so I asked him if he'd be willing to look at this, and he did. And like I said, I mean, I can't stress how bad of condition this was on the inside. And I'm not. He doesn't know I'm going to talk about him on the show. I'm not getting any kind of discount from him for saying this. I'm just saying the guy does really good work. And so maybe if, like me, you're on the West Coast and you're looking for a modder out here, go find the guy on Twitter, Fenris Wolf Retro. Anyway, he put a different RGB mod in here, something called a TurboNanza, which I had never even heard of. And that adds RGB, S-video, and composite. And the original PC Engine is RF only. So that's adding a lot of stuff. And because it has S-video as well and needs the extra pins, this console, you actually use a Saturn video cable. So he put that in, and then he also replaced the ribbon cables in here going from the cartridge slot to the motherboard with an aftermarket replacement that somebody makes. And that has a region mod built in. Because I think I mentioned when I did the Bloody Wolf weekend rental episode that I didn't have... The only system I had that could play TurboGrafx 16 games was my Turbo Duo, and I didn't want to unhook that and bring it down here. But now I can play my American TurboGrafx 16 games on this, and the channel switch on the side is now a region mod switch. And then I didn't have the external bus cover for it, and so I got this from Retro Frog. It's pink, which looks weird, but that's... If you look at pictures of the original... part. This one's 3D printed. If you look at pictures of the original, it's kind of a similar color. You'd think it would be red, but it's not. But anyway, I had this hooked up because I wanted to play Gradius on this one, but it's just got like some electrical noise that I thought, I was like, oh, is there something wrong with the mod? And no, it's just like that's the way original white PC engines are. And for some reason, when I'm just playing it through speakers, you don't really hear it. But for some reason, when I plug it into my capture setup, it's like loud. And, I tend to be, I don't want to say a perfectionist, but I try to be a stickler when, I'm recording gameplay footage or doing something like this. And so I didn't want to have that happening. And so instead, we're playing the game on my core graphics. So that has a spark plug in it, which I showed in a video a while back. And, it doesn't have that noise problem, but like I said, if I'm just playing this just for myself, you don't really hear the noise that much through the speakers. I don't know why it's such a big deal when I send it through the capture setup, but yeah, there you go. But so yeah, shout out to Fenris Wolf Retro. I'll try to put a link to his Twitter or whatever it's called now down in the video description. If hopefully it's okay. I didn't ask him if it was okay. Hey, are you looking for more business? Do you want me to mention you? I should have done that. But anyway, yeah, so that's it. So now I'm going to switch the view over, and we're going to go ahead and play some Gradius, right here, Gradius on the PC Engine. All right, here we go. Just one thing I'll say while, the game is starting up is that, normally when I play the game, if I die... I just start the game over. This is a pretty short game, but Gradius uses a checkpoint system. So, which some shooters, I would say most shooters either use a checkpoint system or you just respawn without the game even really stopping. And then there's a few games that will actually send you back to the beginning of the level if you die. And normally I don't like that. I think Super R-Type on the Super Nintendo would be an example of that. But, with this game, I think it takes you a while to get your ship powered up. And when your ship is at like base power, it's pretty rough. You don't have a lot of firepower at all. And so I actually would rather if Gradius did not use a password system. Like this is the kind of game, the levels are like 3 minutes long. So I really wouldn't mind getting sent all the way back to the beginning of the level because that would give me a chance to power my ship back up. Whereas, this game, some of the places where the checkpoints are, it's almost like an impossible task. And it's like you might as well just reset the game, which is what I usually do. But we'll just see how this goes and play it by ear. So, original Gradius, no options at all. I forgot if Gradius 2 does. Gradius 3 definitely does. You can kind of select what kind of power-up progression you want, which I don't really like. I mean, I don't. When are options ever a bad thing? But I'm saying I always just kind of go with the default. Like, I like the options that you're presented. The power-up options you have here. So there's nothing that I would want to change it to. So we used 2 speed ups, and then I just grabbed the double shot. And then the next thing we're going to try to grab is missiles. There they are. And so, now we can kind of cover the whole screen. There's our first option, which is like that little helper ship there. Red orb. And so now at this point, we're just going to try to keep adding more options on. Because, every time you add an option, you're adding a lot of firepower to your ship. Like I said, I went with 2 speed ups rather, and I don't know. I always feel like 1 speed up. I mean, when you start the game off, your ship is obviously way too slow, but I feel like with 1 speed up, it's still a little bit slower than I would like. But with, like, right now we've got the 2 speed ups, and I feel like it's a little bit too fast in that sometimes, you're trying to evade, just barely tapping on the D-pad moves your ship more than I would like. Now, I might as well take that because I screwed up and didn't take another option, which is fine. So that's the shields, which is what the question mark was on the far left on the little power-up chart. Because I missed the opportunity to get another option because I was talking, and then now you see it's gone already because here the shield just ends up sitting on top of that first volcano. So it's kind of a waste, but it doesn't really matter because this is basically the end of the level. I mean, it's this and then the boss battle, and then we'll have the opportunity to grab a bunch of more power-ups at the beginning of the next level. So, here, if you have the laser instead of the Vulcan gun, you can get a lot more points because with the laser, you're pretty much going to destroy every rock that comes out of those volcanoes. And you would come into the boss battle with like 75,000 points instead of 55,000, which is just important because you get extra lives based on hitting like points benchmarks. But like I said, when I'm just playing this game for myself, I don't really care about extra lives just because I usually just restart the game if I die. So we can still get one more option for a total of 4. And then after that, I'll try to get shields back. The shields are kind of not really that big of a deal in this game. I mean, they help because they'll stop basic little bullets from hitting you from the front. So, I mean, that's nice. But it's not... It's limited as far as what it's going to protect you from. If you crash into a part of the level, you're still going to die. I believe if an enemy ship crashes into you, you're still going to die. So, the shields are of limited use, but they're better than nothing. And, in spaces like that, it's kind of what I'm talking about as far as your speed ups being too high being kind of a problem, because when you're maneuvering through close quarters like that, that's when you'll end up, like accidentally backing into something or something. And then I hate this part just because you've got these, whatever these things are, just kind of appearing on the screen. And it's just real easy to accidentally run into one right when it pops in. So, and this is a spot. This is actually a spot where, to be honest, if you die here, you can grab enough power-ups between the last checkpoint and here that you can get through this and the boss battle. But, like, in the next level, if you die sort of at the pre-boss, which is what I would call that, you definitely might as well restart the game. In my opinion, maybe somebody that's better at video games than me would disagree with that. And I mean, for anybody that's not super familiar with Gradius, that it's always the same boss. I don't really know why, but all right. Then we got our we got our shields back, and so I mean, at this point, the ship is like fully powered up as far as what I would want. You know, maybe situationally, you might want to change your main weapon from the double to the laser, but certainly not in this level, in my opinion. This is the level that has the Moai Heads, which I think is sort of a staple of the Gradius games. And definitely not uncommon for me to die in this level, but let's hope that we don't. The fact that we're so powered up should help with that, because, you know, as you see, you shoot these guys in the mouth, and it does kill them. And because the way we've got our ship configured right now, I'm shooting up and down. But then, like this head, because he's kind of tilted away from me, you can't shoot into his mouth no matter what. Oh, I thought I was dead meat right there. Oh, get me out of here. Yeah, I knew it. So let's see where it starts us. Yeah, I think this is not good. But I'll try. All right, I mean, we made it out, and I got double. So, all right, we'll see. Like I said, if I wasn't recording this, I would definitely restart the game. But, you know, this presents us with a challenge, and those guys are gone already, so now it's boss battle. So actually, we're all right. I mean, this boss, you know, as the game progresses, he'll move a little bit faster, you know, and shoot a little bit sooner, but you're really just weaving up and down to avoid his little shots, and I don't know, I think the boss battles in this game are very anticlimactic, because it's like once you get past the pre-boss, which I would say is the hard part, you know, you're all good. All right, so now we're just going for some options if we can get some. This is definitely a level where you want to have the double shot. So, like, if you were rocking the laser up to this point, this is where you would not want it anymore. And once you get your ship here, like, positioned in the right spot, this is a pretty easy one. Although, I mean, that would be an example of, you know, if you did not have any power-ups right there, you'd be having a hard time. Because those dudes that were coming onto the screen, they loop around behind you and then come underneath you and then get back in front of you and come right towards you. So if you can't shoot up or down, you only have just your basic pea shooter, that's going to be rough. And so now you see, like, you know, you get the beginning, sort of the power-up phase here, where there's just more dudes coming on the screen and they're shooting at you right off the bat, so... So you just kind of, I mean, you want to get as many power-ups as possible, but, you know, not at the risk of dying, obviously. So now we got all of our options back. Oh yeah, and so this is the level that got added to the game. So this level is not in the original arcade game, and obviously is not in the NES version either. We just gotta watch it with these bones. This is where I would love to have shields, but if I can just get one more power up, then I will have them. And there's one right there. So there we go. See, because that way you say I took a direct frontal shot, but it's okay because I have shields. Getting stressed out, man. And like with these rib cage things, like, you know, some people might, you know, maybe your instinct would be to avoid shooting it. I feel the opposite. Like, shoot them as soon as you're on the screen, because then you have the maximum amount of time to dodge everything. Oh, I saw it at the last minute, too. Oh. This is gonna maybe possibly suck. All right. Oh. That's on me. My eyes were not looking at the right thing. We might be okay. I mean, our main thing here is just avoid all these blue, whatever you want to call them. But this goes on for kind of a long time. Oh, apparently no, it doesn't. I remember that taking a lot longer. You know, it's interesting because we've already had, you know, multiple instances of, you know, being in spots where I would have quit. But, you know, we're doing all right, in my opinion. got an extra life there. Oh, I hate these guys. So they have these tentacles that come out there, you know, and you have to shoot the gray, I don't even want to call it a link on the chain there. And because they're constantly sort of trying to chase you, you have to sort of outmaneuver them. And boy, would I love to have shields right here. Oh no! I was trying to get underneath them and then... Alright, this is really not good. We might be in big trouble now. See, some people would complain that this game has slowdown, but, you know, especially in this spot, man, I'll take it. Get away from me. And that's what's funny is, like, you had to fight those things, and then the music starts, and then there's just more of them. But, I mean, all you can really do is just sort of be as defensive as possible. Here's this guy again. Oh, I thought I had him. I mean, I'm not, at this point, I'm not giving up until we get game over. Oh crap, I forgot about this thing. I mean, I'm just gonna cross my fingers here. Extra life. I don't remember if there's something else I have to do here, but... Seems like a good place to have lasers, but... Oh, nope. I didn't really see that coming. That's bad. This is the last level, too. I didn't want to mention that, but... What? Ah. Oh well, I was really hoping we were going to beat the game on camera. I've beaten it off camera, but that doesn't help you. In fact, I only lost 1 life the last time I beat it. Well, I guess we can... too late. Alright, well... I don't know what else to tell you. That's kind of it. For this episode of Weekend Rental. So, thanks, as always, for watching. And, I don't know. We'll see you when we see you.